welcome back to Midwest Garage and the Work Truck Revival Project. Now, if you missed the last episode, I suggest you go back and watch it. I'm going to start calling that one the Can of Worms episode because we started cutting out rust around the rockers and cutting out the floor, and that's when we realized that we need to pull out the fuel tank to properly fix the cab floor supports. And while looking at that, we realized that the tank needs to be replaced anyway because just like everything else on this truck, it's rotted out on the bottom and starting to leak fuel. So long story short, we ended up pulling the bed a little bit earlier than I wanted to, but it's just going to make removing this gas tank that much easier. So since the truck's dismantled for the most part, I figure it's a good time to get you guys up close and personal with this project so that you can really see what I'm dealing with and look at some of the key items that I haven't really gone over in previous episodes, plus give you a little bit of a look into the future as to what we plan on doing with this project. So without wasting any more time, let's get the fuel out of this tank and then do a good solid walk around of this project so you can see what I'm talking about. And if you want to learn how to fix your vehicle, do budget restorations, troubleshoot equipment, and all sorts of other types of garage related stuff, be sure to subscribe to Midwest Garage so you don't miss anything. So to remove this gas tank, the easiest way to do this is to get rid of all the fuel inside. And being that I had just filled up with gas the last time I drove this thing, it is pretty much completely full. And I know that that gas is good. So I'm gonna siphon it out into my gas can, which in this case it's a kerosene can. I can explain that another time. But anyway, this is my can that I strictly use for gasoline. And since the fuel's good, I'm gonna use this shaker siphon and this fuel filter just in case I pick up particles and junk inside the tank, because I do plan on using this gas. Probably not in my truck, but it'll be good for the four-wheelers and stuff like that. Now, I'll have a link down in the description below so that you can pick up one of these shaker siphons. They're super easy, and it's so much better than sucking up gas and getting it in your mouth and all that stuff. And then this funnel actually has a filter inside of it, and that filter will catch dirt, debris, and even water, so that's perfect. I highly recommend getting one of these filters, especially if you have gas that's been sitting around. It's always good, especially to fill small engines with one of these filters, because it has like a Teflon membrane in there that allows fuel to pass through, but not water. And as everybody knows, water is the worst enemy of a fuel system. And you can use these filters with all sorts of different types of fuel. You can use them with gasoline, kerosene, heating oil, diesel, and they work really well. You can test them by putting water in the filter first to make sure that nothing comes through them. And if not, then you know you're good to go. So we got our tank empty for the most part, and the filter did its job. Didn't pick up a whole lot of stuff out of the bottom of the tank, which is surprising. You can see a couple specks of dust in there. Not too bad though. So starting from the front of the truck, like I had originally planned to do in the first place, we obviously got our fender off and did some body work to it, removed all the rust, and got our patch panel welded in, did some body work and threw some primer on it, and then tested our paint colors on that panel. This has a really strong running engine. It's got a good transmission with a new clutch in it, but what it really needs is a freshening up. So we're gonna do some in-depth cleaning and detailing and maybe a little bit of paint work in the engine bay to make it really pop and make it look just as good as the rest of the truck. We removed the door and inspected the rockers and the floor, pulled all that out. Obviously you can see that the cab mounts are completely shot. And when it comes to those, once you replace one, you might as well replace them all. On this truck, there's 4 cab mounts, and we're also gonna be replacing the cab floor support. And now when you're looking at the cab of the truck, overall it's pretty clean. Once the rust is fixed and everything's coated, it's gonna look really nice. I'm gonna figure out something with that seat, whether it be replace the seat or reupholster it and get a seat cover for it. But when it comes to the headliner, you'll see that that is absolutely mint. There's no sagging in that headliner whatsoever. And as far as the door cards and the dash, I'm gonna use a product from LMC Truck that's specifically formulated to repaint and restore these items, so that way I don't have to go and replace them, because as much work as we have to do, I still want to keep this a budget build. Granted, that budget is going to be much higher than I wanted it to be. We're still going to keep it below what you would see, for a full restoration, but it's going to look just as good. Moving back, we have the cab mounts in the back. Obviously, you can see that one of those is much more worn than the other, so we're going to replace both of those as well. And looking over here, you can see that this cab corner was replaced at one time, and although it's not the best job, I'll be the first to admit that I didn't even notice that that repair was there. So they didn't do too bad of a job. They at least hid their work well. Moving on, obviously, like I said, this gas tank is shot. The other one wasn't getting fuel to the engine. I don't know if that's a fuel line issue or what, but my question for you guys is, do you think that I should keep it OEM by replacing both 20-gallon tanks, or getting one of these aftermarket tanks that places the fuel further back away from the cab? Now, budget is no issue here, because either way I do have to replace a lot of fuel lines and stuff like that. So let me know what you think. Should I go with an aftermarket tank or go with a normal setup to keep it a little bit more original? Obviously, our filler necks and all of that need to be replaced. They're just dry rotted. The one on the passenger side actually just kind of fell off. And when I was taking the gas out of the driver's side, you saw that the hose clamp was just rusted and just kind of fell off. It wasn't even there. Now, moving further back, you'll see that the frame is actually in really good shape. It even has a little bit of the factory coating on it still around the wheel wells. And this won't be hard at all to clean up with a wire wheel or a wire brush, and then coat it with some POR 15 to make sure that it stops rusting. It'll stay protected for a long, long time. Obviously, I'll be replacing my back shocks with the 3/4 ton HD shocks that I got, because why wouldn't I do it now while the bed's off, obviously. The leaf springs and leaf spring mounts and everything look really solid, so I'm not worried about those. And you'll see that there's a little bit of heavy rust on the back of this frame, but that's nothing that we can't clean up. POR 15, and it's going to stay perfectly solid. Now, I have hit every single bolt that I plan on removing with PB Blaster, and I plan on continuing to do that every single day until I get to this part of the project. And that's just so that hopefully over time it'll loosen up and it won't cause me so many issues. So overall, the bones of this project are really solid. We have a good drivetrain, solid frame, good suspension for the most part. What's not good, we're going to be replacing. And so from here, it's really just getting rid of rust. We also have our new box that's going to be going on this truck to make it completely rust-free after we're done with the cab and the passenger side fender. Also, there's some rust on the door that I had shown you in previous episodes. We're going to be replacing that, of course. And so my last question is, when it comes to exhaust, should I keep these stock mufflers and give it a really nice, clean sound? Or do you think that it's better to have glass packs and give it more of a beefy sound that kind of resonates with that 1970s era? Now, keep in mind, obviously, I love loud trucks. I love the way a V8 sounds, especially a GM V8. But at the same time, when I'm ready to get rid of this truck, is the next owner going to want that stock exhaust, or do you think everybody pretty much across the board really likes the sound of glass packs? So let me know below, because that's another area where I'm completely torn. And then coming back through here, looking at brake lines, and fuel lines will be replaced, of course, but brake lines look fairly solid. I'm going to do a further inspection. All of the rubber pieces are going to get replaced, but I'm wondering if I should replace hard lines on the brake system as well, just to make sure that it's 100% good to go. I'm also going to be replacing brake shoes and springs and drums, so stay tuned for that in a future episode, because I'm going to dive into exactly how drum brakes work and how to repair them and fix them. So that's pretty much the walk around and the up close and personal part of this project, but don't go away quite yet. I have a couple more key things to say here, I guess. And that is, the point of this project is not only for me to work on something and do something that I love, but really it comes down to hoping that this motivates you to work on stuff like this and not be scared of rust and be scared of the big fixes that a lot of these older trucks take. And so I'm really hoping that you guys are enjoying this build as much as I am. It gets frustrating at times, and sometimes it costs a little bit more money than you want it to, but that's just a part of it, because at the end of the day, you worked on something and you built something and you made something look awesome that was pretty much destined for the scrapyard before that. So hopefully this project is inspiring and motivating you guys to do something like this and showing you that you can do this stuff in your garage with pretty much basic hand tools. You know, you don't need a lift and all of that crazy stuff that you see on TV. And so anyway, I'm starting to get sentimental and all that crap, but point is, I hope that you're enjoying the build, and I hope that it is inspiring you guys to get out and work in your garage and bring some of these old trucks back to life. They don't have to be perfect or anything like that, but you're not going to get it perfect unless you spend the time and practice and work at it, just like we are with our Work Truck Revival project. Now, if you guys aren't already, please subscribe to Midwest Garage and make sure you comment and share and like this video and everything. It really helps the channel continue to grow and kind of spread this motivating message, if that's what you want to call it, to a lot of other guys our age, as well as a lot of kids, because I started doing this stuff when I was 15 years old and I still haven't stopped. It's a lifetime of growing your skills and a lifetime of learning and fun. So it's not only here for you guys, but it's here for the younger guys too. And as always, make sure you check out some of the other videos that pop up around here. I have a ton of stuff, whether it be budget restorations and projects just like this, or learning how to fix your daily driver. So thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for the next part of the Work Truck Revival project, where we're going to be tearing out this gas tank and getting rid of all the rust in our cab.